As the learner starts getting the hang of basic driving manoeuvres, it will become time to venture further outside the quiet training area. Though again, I would recommend low traffic volumes at suburban speeds in fine weather during daylight hours. Stay in the areas you know so you can talk the learner through any hazards ahead before they are encountered. Don't start giving them instructions in the intersection, as this will become information overload. Important safe driving practices to get right include: signals need to flash at least 3 times before the manoeuvre. Left turns are made from the left edge to the left edge and then reposition. Right turns are made from the centre line to the centre line and then reposition. The driver needs to read the road well ahead. If the learner is unsure, the first thing to do is slow down. This gives them more time to react. The supervising adult must be in the front passenger seat and cannot be using their phone or be distracted. Since the new driver is unsure, it is normal for them to be travelling under the speed limit. You should keep an eye out for traffic behind and be mindful of not holding up traffic. If queues are forming, signal early and pull over or turn left into a side street and then let the traffic go. In this dashcam clip, the car at the front was being driven by a learner driver with L plates clearly displayed, but they were travelling at 70 to 80 kilometres an hour in a 100 kilometre an hour zone, and the traffic behind became so frustrated that some dangerous overtaking resulted. The car with the learner shouldn't have been holding up traffic for so long, but there are some drivers who are in a hurry and they don't realise they are racing to a stoppage or a queue of traffic ahead. Best to let them go. But if you experience very dangerous driving, a dash cam can help you to alert the police to their actions. Some regions have anti-hoon hotlines to report dangerous operation of a vehicle. Many learners struggle with parking drills, especially parallel parking. For less stress and less chance of damaging someone else's vehicle, find a quiet corner of a car park and practice where there are no other vehicles around. The biggest mistakes that learners make are focusing on only their driver's side mirror, not checking for other traffic and pedestrians, turning too suddenly and then correcting too slowly, not going far enough back as they are unsure of the vehicle size. A good tip for the learner is to use the lines on the next row of car parks as a guide to their position. The leading argument against parents teaching their children to drive is the passing on of bad habits and incorrect information. So you need to ensure you are not giving the learner wrong or misleading information about road rules and how to handle certain scenarios. So the following segments are designed to remind you of commonly misunderstood road rules. The lines on the road define what you can and can't do and where to position your vehicle. Opposite this stop sign is the solid stop line, which you are required to stop behind. That driver failed. On the other side, the broken line means give way. Here the turning lane ends with broken lines, meaning you must give way to the vehicle turning into this road. Here your lane ends and you are required to merge into the through lane. You must signal and give way as you enter the lane to your right. Here the dotted lines define your lane across an intersection. By turning across the lines, the driver has caused a costly crash. A driver may, however, drive on or over a solid white edge line for up to 100 metres. If the driver is turning at an intersection or entering or leaving the road or stopping at the side of the road. On this roundabout, the painted arrows show what movements are permitted from what lanes. The BMW driver on your right has failed to see the arrows. Do not permit them exiting the roundabout across your path. But it does surprise many to learn that you can turn across one solid line to leave or enter the road into private property. You can't overtake along this stretch of the road, but you definitely can turn across a solid line to enter or exit private property. When merging and changing lanes, you cannot cross a solid line. You are supposed to wait until it becomes broken. Though you are allowed to drive onto a painted island surrounded by a solid line, not a double line, for up to 50 metres to enter or leave the road or to enter a turning lane that begins across the painted island. But it should be obvious that you cannot overtake across a painted island. Hopefully this guide helps you to better see and better understand the painted lines and markings on our roads. A stale green traffic light is one that's been green ever since you've seen it. A beautiful driver will lift their foot up and cover the brake pedal and check their mirrors just in case it changes. Traffic lights trigger from a sensor pad in the road surface. During peak times, the traffic lights will just change on a 2 or 3 minute cycle. But in off-peak periods, when your vehicle crosses the sensor pad, you will trigger the light changing process. Regardless, when the lights go green, check for the red light runner from hell coming from your right-hand side. Now, it surprises many drivers to learn that when the traffic lights turn amber, you are required to stop unless it is unsafe to do so. So these drivers have no reason not to stop and are definitely running red lights. Hence why you should check to the right and then to the left before proceeding on a freshly changed green light. As discussed in other videos in this series, running a light in a city often doesn't achieve anything. You only end up queued at the next intersection, especially if the lights are linked in sequence. In this scenario, the vehicle fitted with the dash cam is approaching a green light and is almost wiped out by the white four-wheel drive running a very red light. Hence why many people are killed and seriously injured at intersections, as the side of the vehicle is exposed to the collision and your vehicle's door and seatbelt don't offer much crash protection for side impacts. As was discussed in the correct signals on roundabouts video, you must give way to traffic already on a roundabout. In this scenario, the white van enters the roundabout before you, so your vehicle with the dash cam must give way to them, even though you are approaching from the right. Likewise, the white Mazda CX-5 enters the roundabout first, so has every right to proceed. The purpose of a roundabout is supposed to be a shared space which limits queuing at stop or give way signs and slows traffic, lessening impact speeds. So in this scenario, the black car entering from the right is on the roundabout first, and all other traffic is supposed to give way to them. But without knowing their thoughts, everyone seemed to blend and share the space with no conflict, as a roundabout is meant to do. But this four-wheel drive stopping on a roundabout to block traffic and forcing everyone to wait is definitely taking the give way to traffic on the roundabout rule too far, as you can't impede traffic flow. When I used the horn to tell him he was acting like a tool, he seemed to have a different opinion. So common errors on roundabouts include ignoring the arrows which define what lane can go where. This ute that had been tailgating me is not supposed to turn right from the left lane, and we were both lucky I was not intending to go straight across using the inside lane. Likewise, this BMW driver on the inside lane has not seen or doesn't care that their lane must turn right. It was a very close call for the dash cam fitted vehicle. Another common cause of crashes on roundabouts is when motorists do obscure or unexpected things. A driver is permitted to lap around a roundabout multiple times. So when a driver does something that the other traffic is not expecting, the risk of impact increases. If doing a legal manoeuvre that you do every day, but that others don't expect or see very often, be cautious. This roundabout near my home is a great example. Because of a blind corner where our driveway is, we need to use this roundabout to turn around. But despite signalling right well before arriving to the roundabout, almost daily the oncoming traffic, using this street as a shortcut, ignores our signals. See the arrows before this roundabout, allowing both lanes to turn right. But since I use this roundabout often, I expect the vehicles on the inside lane to not realise I'm permitted to turn right using the outside lane. Watching the car in front, what do they do wrong? A common misunderstanding about roundabouts is that you can't change lanes on a roundabout. This is not true. You can change lanes provided you signal correctly, give way to traffic in the lane you are moving into, and don't exit a roundabout from an incorrect lane. So apart from confusing signals and then no signals, this driver who seems confused is permitted to change lanes on this roundabout. Since we got a lot of argument about changing lanes on a roundabout, here are two examples where the driver needs to turn left soon after turning right at a roundabout. So how else are they supposed to get where they're going if a lane change is not possible whilst on a roundabout? But the driver you're about to see is just crazy, as they come so close to hitting the dashcam fitted vehicle driven by my teenage daughter. It was no surprise this driver then continued to do crazy stunts ahead in traffic. Another cause of crashes is when drivers enter the roundabout in a lane they shouldn't be in for where they plan to exit, and then they cut off other traffic. As we just explained, these drivers might be permitted to change lanes on a roundabout, but they need to signal correctly and give way to other traffic. Sometimes these lane-changing drivers are avoiding a queue in the lane they should be in and using the roundabout as a chance to jump ahead of those drivers using the correct lane. This is very narcissistic behaviour. Now a new and very confusing roundabout that is starting to become more common has lanes forming on the roundabout. Here the blue car is turning right at this roundabout that has 5 entry ramps. As the driver goes around the circle, a new lane forms on the inside. Generally, you don't want to enter this lane unless you plan to lap the roundabout. So by staying in the lane you entered in, your lane moves you to the outside to enable you to exit. Another cause of problems at roundabouts is drivers approaching them too fast. This red ute travelling down a steep hill is approaching too fast and doesn't realise the dashcam fitted vehicle is signalling and intending to turn right. Likewise, this truck enters the roundabout too fast and well after the dashcam fitted vehicle. Life moves on if you just let them go. Similarly, approaching too fast and jumping over a roundabout is not great for your wheel alignment and the internal construction of your tyres. Speeding onto a roundabout, especially when impaired, can result in your vehicle launching into the air. This house has had several cars into their front wall over the years. Sometimes problems are caused by trucks and buses entering roundabouts too slowly due to their weight and slow acceleration. Whilst they are in the wrong, it is best to slow down and let them go. In summary, roundabouts are meant to be taken slowly. Be prepared for anything, give way to traffic already on the roundabout, and ensure you follow the lane arrows and exit in the appropriate lane. Our driver training support doesn't stop there. If you go to our YouTube channel at sdtaustralia, you'll find videos on the various courses we offer, plus over 40 free-to-access videos on safe driving. These include videos on the correct use of roundabouts, traffic light tips, braking distance comparisons, crash testing that we have performed, tyre safety, carjacking prevention, and the list goes on and on and on. So please feel free to access these videos, and I hope they support the training you are planning to deliver. In all segments of this video, when a learner is driving, the filming is done by a backseat passenger or a fixed camera. In all segments where filming is done from the front seat, the vehicle is parked or the driver is not a learner. When a learner is driving on the road, the front seat adult supervisor cannot be distracted or impaired. This supervisor cannot be using a mobile phone for any reason.